His name was Alejandro Vargas. He was a petroleum engineer at PDVSA's Caracas Operations Center, and in January 2016, he earned 7,500 bolivares a month. At the official exchange rate, 10 bolivares to the dollar, that was $750, a professional salary. Enough for an apartment in Los Palos Grandes, a car payment, a weekly grocery run at the Excelsior Gama on Avenida Libertador. Alejandro had a wife, a daughter in secondary school, and a savings habit his father had taught him. Every month, without exception, he set aside a small portion of his salary and converted it into silver. Not gold. He could not afford gold. Silver, 1-ounce coins purchased from a small metals dealer on Sabana Grande, stored in a metal box under the bed. By January 2016, he had 41 of them. He was not a prepper. He was not a conspiracy theorist. He was an engineer at the world's largest proven oil reserve, living in a country that had once been the richest in Latin America, trusting in a system he had spent his career building. He is wrong about what that system is about to do to him. Let me show you the forensic record. Because this story has been told 100 times and almost always wrong. It has been told as a story about silver. It is not. It is a story about who designed the trap, who pulled the lever, and who walked away with the contents when it closed. The bolivar had been declining since 2012. In that year, Venezuela's minimum wage was $476 a month at official rates, the highest in Latin America. Hugo Chavez announced it proudly to cameras. By April 2016, the official rate still claimed $1 was worth 9.95 bolivares. The black market, the real rate, the rate every Venezuelan used, put $1 at 1,021 bolivares. The gap between those two numbers is not a rounding error, it is the mechanism, it is the trap. The government maintained an official exchange rate it knew was false. It allocated dollars at the false rate to politically connected importers. Those importers bought goods abroad at the subsidized rate and sold them domestically at black market prices. The differential, the gap between 9.95 and 1,021, was extracted as rent by the system's operators. Billions of dollars annually siphoned through the machinery of currency controls. Alejandro understood this. He was an engineer, he understood systems. What he did not yet understand was how fast the system was about to accelerate beyond any human ability to track it. Not theory, not speculation. Historical fact. In November 2016, Venezuela officially entered hyperinflation. The technical definition: monthly inflation exceeding 50% for 30 consecutive days. On December 11, 2016, President Nicolás Maduro announced that the 100 Bolivar note, which constituted 48% of all paper money in circulation, would be withdrawn from circulation within 72 hours. The new notes to replace them had not yet arrived. The economy stopped. Stores could not make change. ATMs dispensed nothing of value. Alejandro stood in a bank queue for 4 hours and withdrew 500,000 bolivares in bills. He carried them home in a grocery bag. They were worth at the black market rate approximately $5. Here is what blows people's minds. The 100 Bolivar note Maduro cancelled had been worth about 2 US cents on the black market. He cancelled a bill worth 2 cents because it was creating economic instability. That is not a policy failure, that is the end stage of a system that has consumed itself. The inflation rate reached 274% in 2016, then 863% in 2017. And this number requires a pause, 130,060% in 2018. The Central Bank of Venezuela stopped publishing data after 2015. The numbers I am giving you were reconstructed by the BCV itself in 2019, when it finally released 4 years of suppressed statistics. What was Alejandro earning when these numbers hit? In January 2018, Maduro raised the minimum wage by 300% to 18,000 bolivares a month. That sounds like a raise. At the parallel exchange rate, it was $6.52, not per day, per month. In March 2019, the Wall Street Journal documented what this meant in practice. A teacher in Caracas could buy a dozen eggs and 2 pounds of cheese with an entire month's salary, nothing else. That was the month's food budget for a professional with a university degree in the capital city of the country, sitting atop the world's largest proven oil reserves. Alejandro was not a teacher. He was a PDVSA engineer, and engineers made more. But PDVSA's skilled workforce had begun to hemorrhage. By 2018, the company had lost more than 25,000 experienced engineers and technicians to emigration. Venezuela was pumping less than 1.5 million barrels of oil per day, down from 2 million in 1998. The infrastructure his career had been built around was cannibalizing itself. He stayed. His daughter was in school. His wife's parents were too old to move. He stayed, and he watched the grocery receipts. In February 2017, a kilogram of rice cost 2,000 bolivares. By February 2018, a kilogram of rice cost 200,000 bolivares. Not because rice had changed, because the bolivar had been destroyed systematically by a central bank printing money to cover deficits that oil revenues could no longer fill. The Wall Street Journal stated it plainly. The main cause of hyperinflation was the central bank printing money, not sanctions, not the economic war Maduro announced from television sets. The money supply of the bolivar had expanded 64% in 2014 alone, 3 times faster than any other economy Bloomberg News tracked at the time. Each new note printed was a tax on every note that already existed. Alejandro's savings in bolivares were taxed by every bill that came off the press. His savings in silver were not. This is where the forensic record becomes precise. By mid-2018, 1 ounce of silver on international markets was worth approximately $16. Alejandro's 41 coins, purchased incrementally over years, each one worth perhaps $13 to $18 at the time of purchase, had not changed weight, had not changed composition, had not been debased. The silver in those coins was the same silver that went in, and in a market where the bolivar was collapsing at a rate that exceeded 10,000% annually, the relative purchasing power of those coins was expanding, not because silver was rising, but because the currency was falling. Here is the documented exchange rate that matters. Not bolivares to dollars, on seas of silver to months of food. Precious metals consultant Tom Cloud, in a documented 2018 presentation to the SRS Rocco Precious Metals webinar, stated the forensic record directly. 1 ounce of silver would at that point in the Venezuelan collapse purchase 6 months of food for one person, not a month. 6 months. Alejandro's 41 coins represented, by that metric, 20 years of food supply for one person, or 3 years for a family of 7. He had purchased them for approximately $600 over the course of years. He had stored them in a metal box under a bed. He had done nothing with them except hold them, and the system had walked past everything else he owned, his savings account, his pension contributions, his salary, his car, and left the box alone. Quick pause. If you are beginning to see the mechanism, not the event, the mechanism, hit subscribe. This is Financial Autopsy. I do not tell you what to buy. I show you how the system was built, who designed the trap, and who walked away when it closed. It is free, unlike the lesson Alejandro Vargas paid in 2018. But here is what the story of silver in Venezuela is almost never told with, the other half of the ledger. The part about who won. While Alejandro was rationing rice, while PDVSA engineers were emigrating to Colombia and Argentina and the United States, while teachers in Caracas were buying a dozen eggs with a month's wages. The system had a different set of arithmetic entirely for a different set of actors. On February 24, 2016, the same year Alejandro began watching the grocery prices with the precision of an engineer tracking pressure gauges. Nicolas Maduro signed Decree No. 2-283 No. 2. It created the Orinoco Mining Arc Strategic Development Zone. An area of 118,1843 square kilometers, larger than the territory of Cuba, was designated for the extraction of gold, diamonds, bauxite, and coltan. Former Senator Alexander Luzardo, who had written Venezuela's environmental standards into the constitution, said publicly, "This is the worst answer to the crisis." He is correct. It was, however, an excellent answer to a different question. The Arco Minero, according to its own government estimates, contained mineral wealth valued at $2 trillion, not billion. Trillion. Official gold production in Venezuela had fallen to a single ton in 2016, the result of Chavez's nationalization of the industry in 2011, followed by mismanagement and the flight of professional operators. By 2017, the Arco Minero produced 85 tons. The mining ministry announced a target of 24 tons annually. The Arco Minero was not, in practice, operated by the state. It was operated by the Venezuelan military. Maduro had granted the armed forces security powers over the zone and allowed them to create CAMIMP, the Compañía Anónima Militar para las Industrias Mineras, Petrolíferas y de Gas, a military company. In a country with approximately 2,000 generals, a figure documented by opposition legislator Américo de Gracia, who represented the state of Bolívar where most reserves were concentrated, the prize of the Arco Minero was distributed as loyalty. It's an incentive for loyalty. Rocio San Miguel, president of the watchdog group Control Ciudadano in Caracas, told Bloomberg, "It's indicative of where the forces of power lie in Venezuela. Military power is hegemonic and in control of everything." On February 10, 2018, the army conducted a raid at a mine called Sicapra, 25 miles from El Callao. Soldiers killed 18 civilians, including a woman and a youth. The gold kept moving. Where did it go? In 2018, the year Alejandro Silva could buy 6 months of food because the Bolivar had ceased to function, the Central Bank of Venezuela sold 2 tons of gold. Not to its own citizens, not to domestic reserves, to a Turkish company named Sades Kıymetli Madenler AS and 2 companies in the United Arab Emirates. The transactions were conducted without National Assembly approval, as required by Article 187 of Venezuela's constitution. The sales took place across 33 commercial and private flights, documented flight by the investigative outlet ROM-S using Flight Radar 24, verified against Turkish Airlines cargo manifests. 23 tons on Turkish Airlines flights. The gold arrived in Istanbul. It was refined. There are no records of it returning to Venezuela. The total value of gold exported by the central bank in 2018 alone, $2.928 billion. Venezuela additionally airlifted over 5 years 127 tons of gold to Switzerland, documented by Swiss Customs, which registers all imports and exports. At the beginning of Maduro's presidency in 2013, Venezuela held approximately 360 tons of gold in reserve. By the end of 2018, the figure was 161 tons. In a decade, the central bank had consumed approximately $35 billion in international reserves. The reserves had been built over generations during the oil boom as the sovereign wealth of 30 million people. They were liquidated ton by ton in unmarked flights to Istanbul and Dubai, while the population ate eggs and cheese on a teacher's monthly salary. Same pattern. Same stages, same outcome. This was not the first time a sovereign extracted its population's wealth through currency destruction, while simultaneously removing hard assets from the country. The mechanism has a forensic record going back centuries. Weimar Germany, 1923. The German mark collapsed from 320 per dollar in July 1922 to 2 trillion per dollar by November 1923. Industrial magnate Hugo Stinnes, already the largest private employer in Germany, used his access to foreign credit to borrow worthless marks and purchase hard assets, mines, factories, steel mills, newspapers. He acquired 4,500 companies in industries spanning coal, steel, shipping, hotels, and paper. While a professor named Julius Babb watched his monthly salary of 200,000 marks in January 1923 buy what 100 marks had bought 2 years earlier, Stins was converting the collapsing currency into ownership of Germany's industrial infrastructure. He did not survive to enjoy it. He died in 1924 as the currency stabilized and the debt he had used as a lever came due. But the mechanism was clear. The collapse was a transfer. From those who held paper to those who held assets, from those who trusted the system to those who understood it, was designed to be trusted by the people who would pay for it. Zimbabwe, 2008. The Zimbabwe dollar reached an inflation rate of 89.7 sextillion% annually, the second worst hyperinflation in recorded history after Hungary in 1945. The government printed a $100 trillion note. Those notes are now sold as collector items for $30 on eBay. While ordinary Zimbabweans lost their savings, pension funds, and bank balances to complete monetary obliteration, the political and military elite had already converted their positions into farm seizures, diamond extraction rights, and foreign currency accounts in South Africa. Reserve Bank Governor Gideon Gono admitted in his memoirs that he had no choice but to print. He is correct that he had no choice. The choice had been made earlier, structurally, by those who ensured they would not be holding paper when the choice was enforced. The pattern is mathematical, the outcome is structural. What does this mean for a present-day structural parallel? As of 2026, the world's 5 largest central banks hold a combined $35 trillion in assets, the vast majority of which are bonds, claims on future currency that those same central banks print. The Federal Reserve's balance sheet peaked at $9 trillion in 2022. It has been reduced, but not to pre-crisis levels. Central banks globally added 1,337 tons of gold to their reserves in 2023, the second highest annual purchase in recorded history. The institutions that issue the currency are systematically converting their own holdings out of the currency they issue. That is not commentary. That is a documented flow of capital that you can verify in the World Gold Council's quarterly reports. The question the Venezuelan record answers is not whether silver works during a hyperinflation. Alejandro's 41 coins answer that question. The question the Venezuelan record answers is structural. When a currency collapses, the hard assets flow toward power and the paper absorbs the loss. 41 coins stored in a metal box purchased incrementally over years by an engineer who did not know what was coming. Those coins represented the distance between 6 months of food and the grocery receipts he kept, month after month in a drawer in Los Palos Grandes, as a kind of forensic record of his own. The Venezuelan Central Bank sold 73.2 tons of gold to Turkey and the UAE in the same year that one of Alejandro's silver coins could feed a person for 6 months. Not theory, not speculation, historical fact. Now go check what percentage of your savings exist only as a digital claim on someone else's printing press before you're forced to.